everybody, and welcome to episode 10 of the Production Meeting podcast with your host, Jess.
And Zavi. On today's episode, we have film news as well as recently watched, and we do have the Oscars to talk about as the nominations were released just the other day, and it's very controversial. Stay tuned for that, but without further ado, we're going to get into the first topic of today's episode, which is recently watched. So, Jess, would you like to take it away?
Yeah, well, I haven't watched that much recently, which is annoying, but I have been doing an essay for my degree, and that's been stressful, but that was handed in literally today, the day of us recording, which was yes, a massive relief. But I did the essay on Fahrenheit 9/11 by Michael Moore, a very well-known filmmaker. It was a very interesting one, really, really different to anything else that I've ever watched before. Michael Moore is a very opinionated filmmaker. He'll do what he can to share his opinion and try and push people to share more than they would usually, I guess. So Fahrenheit 9/11 was released in 2004, and it's about the 9/11 attacks, terrorist attacks on the Twin Towers. Very, very huge event in America. And it also delves into George Bush's presidency, which is a very interesting one. So yeah, it was very interesting to listen and watch Michael Moore's documentary. I watched it a couple of times and then had to write about it, which was stressful. But I had a lot to talk about because of the amount of content he includes in such it's a long documentary, but not as long as some. There's a lot of content considering its length, and so yeah, there's a lot to talk about. There was a lot of comedy elements, really, really funny things, but also it was a very serious subject, and there was a lot of controversial things that happened during George's presidency. So yeah, I enjoyed that. But also, I'm so glad that it's handed in now, and I don't have to think about it anymore. But yeah, that was an interesting watch. What did you watch recently, Zavi?
So recently, I've watched some variety of things, which we're going to go into and everything, especially regarding today's episode with the Oscars. But the first thing is I'm still the continuation of the Bad Batch season 2. So episode 3, 4, and 5. Episode 3 was by far one of my favorite episodes of the entire show as a whole. Really, really good, and I feel like it's really nice when these animated episodes of Star Wars, which are for children, but they have dark topics and they're not afraid to shy away from the brutality of war and as well as things. And then gradually after that, episode 4 and 5 were just very meh. They were very filler-esque, and that's the one thing I'm not a massive fan of with the Star Wars animated show specifically, is that it sometimes gets into that little unfortunately gets into that little phase with some fillers here and there which don't really intrigue me that much. And then I continued ages ago. I started to watch this, but then recently I've got back into it. I finished off the Light and Magic documentary or series that was released on Disney Plus, and this is about ILM, and it's about showing the creation of the company and how it will revolutionize the film industry as a whole with Star Wars. And it was so cool just seeing all of these creative, just these amazing creative people just talk about their passion, and then the way they got into the film industry via ILM, and then working with George Lucas and creating Star Wars, then making other massive breakthroughs in the film industry, such as the CGI for Jurassic Park and Terminator 2 and many other films. It was really, really, really interesting, and I really enjoyed it. I would love to rewatch the first the first three, but just finished that recently. Now we're getting into some interesting films that I recently just watched. The reason why I say they are interesting is because there is some Oscar buzz around these films. And the first one is Everything Everywhere All at Once, starring Michelle Yeoh, Ki Hai Kwan, and Jamie Lee Curtis, and it's directed by Daniel Schnert and Daniel Kwan. So this film has got lots of buzz. I've seen in the recent months a lot of people praising this film and everything. And when I saw it was available on Amazon Prime for free, so if you guys do have Prime, go and watch it. I was intrigued, so I watched the film, and I must say this film was bonkers, and I mean it was bonkers. This film was just so filled with so much creativity, with just some amazing scenes, like with some of the cinematography, some of the action set pieces, and a lot of people. I mean, a fair point to make is a lot of people. I've heard a lot of people say Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness wasn't really a multiversal film, but I can tell you that this film is. It is so creative, and I am just blown away by how they put this film together with all the different elements of the multiverse and how it all works, and just seeing different visual representations, some funny, some beautiful, some sad, some straight out hilarious. It is just so creative. And I must say that what I love so much about this film is that at the beginning, it starts off very simple with a personal message. And in the middle part, you get more into learning about the multiverse and everything with some action set pieces. But then the third act really nicely ties back to the first act with just like a really emotional note. I think Michelle Yeoh did a really good job with her performance in this, as well as Ki Hai Kwan, sorry. And also, fun fact, he was the boy who played Short Round in Indiana Jones: The Temple of Doom. And both Michelle Yeoh and Ki Hai Kwan both have won Golden Globes for their performances in this film. And as I mentioned, just the concept and the balls on the director to make this film is just insane. Like, I mean, even watching it, I'm blown away of how they've done this. And then there's even some scenes that are just so simple yet so powerful with, like not really any actors in or anything. It's just it's just mind blowing, to be honest with you. It really is. And I really can't give a rating out of 10 on what I think about this film, because it's just so tough to just put it into one rating, I must say, or just put it on the scale. But I did think it was a very good film, and I'm just so like massive props to the directing team as well as the cast, because this film was produced by A24, which doesn't get a lot of recognition, especially when it comes to the Academy and the critics. So to see that this film has been getting a lot of buzz and winning awards, I'm very pleased for it. And I must say, massive respect to everyone on this film, as it was just mind blowing in every single way, from story and the actual the elements that went into the film. Now, the next film I watched was Avatar: The Way of Water, the sequel to the first Avatar film, which came out, oh gosh, I must say, was it 13 years ago? 13, or probably like 14 years ago, I must say. Anyway, it came out a very long time ago. And when I heard about this film, I wasn't that intrigued, to be completely honest with you. And I have quite a bizarre, well, not bizarre, but funny relationship with the Avatar franchise, because I remember on this one specific day at school, the weather wasn't great, so we had to all go home. And my parents took me to the cinema to go and watch it. I remember when we watched it in 3D. Funny story, I smeared the glasses so many times that we just kept on swapping glasses throughout the entire film. And I have a couple of fun memories watching that film, even on DVD. And a very also, like, I don't mean to go on, this isn't a side tangent per se. This is just just quite ironic. Is that I remember when I was 7 years old at my school, my DT teacher was talking about Avatar, and he said that the second film would be about water. And here we are 13 years later or 12 years later, and it is about that. Which is just I just find it's very funny. But yeah, as I said, I didn't really have any interest to go and watch this film. But I did go and watch it in the end, and I'm really happy I did because this film is one to watch in the cinema. I mean, it's just so immersive and it's so powerful. The visual effects are just off the wall. It really puts you into a different kind of world. And I'm not a massive fan of those kind of stories. Like even when it comes to video games, like I'm not a massive fan of those kind of, that concept per se. But Avatar has just such an emotional element to the films. And it's, the first one's about, protecting our planet with deforestation. The second one is obviously about protecting our waters. And I've heard a lot of people criticize that this film is a simple plot, which it is. I would say that it is a simple plot, but I think it just puts it on a new level as I said, when it comes to just the cinematography, the visual effects, and everything that went into it. Well, it's not the cinematography per se, but yeah, the visual effects and the music just makes it so emotional, and it makes it so spiritual with just some of these just gorgeous looking scenes. I mean, it was just such a cool film to watch in the cinema. I watched it in 3D, which was very bizarre because I haven't watched a film in 3D for a while. And I would like to watch it again, but in 2D. But yeah, I thought that, well, James Cameron, the director of the film, said, he made a comment about, films are for the cinema, and I completely agree with him. I mean, I think cinema chains deserve more love, and I would love to see more films in them. And this film just, elevates that. A lot of people have said cinema has been dead for the past couple of years, but Avatar, currently right now is over 2 billion at the global box office, which is just nuts. But as I said, very much like Everything Everywhere All at Once, I really can't give it a specific rating out of 10, but I did think it was very good, very powerful, and very impactful, and a visual phenomenon. So yeah, but Jess, I know that you may have mentioned that you have watched the first Avatar film. Am I correct?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was so long ago, but I watched it and I didn't get on with it. And that's a very controversial opinion. A lot of people disagree with me on that one. And I know and I understand because I get why people like it. I'm not a massive fan of that genre of film. I'm not a massive fan of cartoons. I'm not a massive fan of animation. I completely admire how clever it is, how like the process that the crew, the team have to go through just to make it, and it's just absolutely mind blowing. But I don't know what it is. I think I found the films too long, and I don't know. I just didn't enjoy them. And to be honest, when I first saw Avatar, when I was quite young, there's this. I think it's the first movie. Is the scene where the guy in the wheelchair goes,
Yes, Jake Sully.
yeah, and he can finally he can walk again when he
Mm, becomes a
becomes the
Navi.
Avatar
I think
suit.
that's what it's called. Yeah, the Navi. Yeah.
And he stumbles about the room and gets a bit eager. And I remember that scene so well because if I'm honest, it terrified me. It absolutely terrified me. And then from then on, I had the odd nightmare, including Avatar, in it. And I was just terrified of the big blue people. And they kind of took over my life in my dreams for a while, and I don't know, it just put me off. And I recently have tried to watch because I have a lot of friends that love it, love Avatar, and so I've tried to go on Disney Plus and rewatch it, and I just don't get on with it. I just don't enjoy it. It's quite a slow one, I feel like, and I don't know. I just keep trying to give it a chance and I just can't get into it. It doesn't hook me. Like, no part of it has hooked me yet. I do keep going back to it though, and I do really want to enjoy it, but sometimes there's not really much point trying to enjoy something when you find it so difficult to. Like, sometimes you just gotta leave it and watch other things. But I completely admire the way it was created, and yeah, it's a very interesting franchise, and yeah, I don't know what. Maybe one day I'll appreciate it even more and properly watch all the movies. But yeah, and not for me, unfortunately.
Mm. Well, it's quite ironic, I must say, that you're a massive horror fan and you don't really get scared of horror that easily. And
Yeah.
the one thing that did scare you, or at least had a massive imprint on you as a child, is these 8 foot tall blue people. um, but yeah, which is quite ironic. I must say. I
Really
mean,
is.
the horror industry must watch out for you, Jess, because I mean, like, they've got a tough job to make you scared, but I guess James Cameron doesn't have a tough job of doing that.
In the
Um,
future, watch out for it, guys. I'm gonna make a film with the big blue people, and it's gonna be a horror film, and it's gonna be
oh my
based off of
gosh.
Avatar, and it's gonna be incredible. It will knock Avatar out the water, and I'm going to be nominated for an Oscar for that. Like, it's gonna happen. Nah, nah, no, I'd hate that. Would be my worst nightmare. Something like that.
Yeah, but I mean, I completely understand. Like, obviously, you can't force what you like and you don't like that. That's
Yeah.
the love and the enjoyment of these film discussions. We all have our own opinion, and I also want to add that, yeah, I would love to. I would love to watch the first Avatar film, as I haven't um watched it for a very long time. But yeah, I'm interested. James Cameron said he's already shot bits of the third, the fourth, and the fifth, and I'm just like, what the hell? How are you doing all this, man? So he's got imagination and he's got balls, and I really really respect that from him as a director. And I have to say, over the years, he's been one of the most consistent directors of all time when it comes to making, like, at least like just good films, and some amazing films like that as well. But yeah, now on to the next section of today's video, which is the news segment of the video. And first of all, Joker 2 is currently filming in New York with Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga. There's been supposed set images and leaks with Gotham ambulances and, apparently supposed set leak videos. So that is somewhat exciting. The Cobra Kai creators announced that the renewal of season 6 of Cobra Kai, but which will also be the final season of the show. I think it's the right time to end the show because, as I mentioned in our top 10 video for Cobra Kai season 5, I thought that it did get a little bit operatic. So I think, season 6 is a good way to, good final, number, I would say, to end the show. And then the third piece of news I'm going to talk about is Matt Reeves has recently had an interview giving us an update on the Batman sequel. So that's really exciting news. I know I mentioned I wouldn't talk about DC news, but just to reiterate, it's specifically DC Universe news with regarding James Gunn and everything, which he said we're meant to be getting at the end of the month. We're currently on the 26th of January, so I'm sure when this episode has gone up, or when we record the next one, I'm sure he would have released some news about the films. But as Matt Reeves has stated, that he is currently deep in the writing, he's deep on the script with the Batman 2 currently, and he's really excited with how it's going. And he also mentions that he doesn't want one thing he's noticed is that Batman sequels have mainly focused more on the villains than Batman himself, which is a very fair point. Batman Returns focuses on their villains, and then The Dark Knight, obviously, you have Heath Ledger's incredible performance, and it kind of, takes away from Batman's spotlight. But I'm really happy to hear that Matt Reeves, he's currently deep on the script, which is, really exciting news, and I really am excited, just to hear more news regarding that, as well as he's keeping Batman the center of the story, which is really reassuring and really good. And then we get on to some recent trailers that have released. So, Jess, would you like to lead us off with this one?
Yeah, well, as you may have heard in the previous episode, if you haven't watched it already, listened to it already, check out the link in the description. But yeah, I'm doing a new year, new me kind of situation over here. I am gonna start and watch trailers, and I have been watching trailers this year, which is something. If you asked me this a year ago, I would have completely shut you down on it. I've always like avoided trailers purely because um I wanted to go into watching movies with a clear mind, not knowing what was going on or what shots would be included. And that's what a trailer would ruin, like that fresh kind of mindset going into a film and not knowing what it's not completely knowing what it's about. I mean, I did used to watch trailers up until college, and then I studied trailers, got fed up of watching trailers, and then started to realize, actually, wait a second, I've watched a few movies with a clear mind, and it actually is a really good way of appreciating a film. So yeah, that's kind of why I spent a year doing that, like um just going into every movie with a clear mind, not knowing what was coming up, and then I could kind of think about it in my own way, like without making opinions beforehand and without thinking about it before seeing the film itself. So yeah, that was why I did that. But I think this year, to kind of, I guess, also help with the podcast and things that I can talk about in the podcast as well, I have decided to start watching trailers and kind of grow my own opinion of films before they come out a little bit. Um, I mean, I think it's one of those things I'll take a little bit to get into properly because I don't know. I haven't got that much time on my hands to sit and watch trailers all the time, but when I can, I will, and I can't wait to see some kind of, I guess, modern trailers compared to the trailers I saw and watched before I stopped watching trailers, because a lot of them were a lot different to what trailers are like now, which is what I've learned by watching trailers recently. From the beginning of 2023, the first trailer really, well, one of the first trailers I watched was the trailer for the new series The Ark, and that's coming out on Feb 1st. It's a sci-fi series, and yeah, it looks very interesting. When I watched the trailer, I really got Star Trek vibes, which I find interesting. Like it's space themed. Looks really interesting. There is kind of, I get, obviously a quite a huge use of visual effects. But I feel like with this one, it's a bit different to your usual and stereotypical films with visual effects. It looks more realistic. It looks like, I guess, quite relatable in a way. There's you can tell there's some personal stories there, within the film, and to be honest, I can't wait to see it because um it's gonna be an interesting one. Like, I wonder if after this they'll bring out another season, as well. Like, I know that's looking very, very far ahead, but I feel like this could be a bit of an interesting series because there's not many series based around space. Like I don't know of many anyway, compared to other genres out there. Like there's the yeah, it's not as big a genre for sit when it comes to series. And so yeah, I'm very intrigued. Kind of can't wait to see it. It's by the producers of Independence Day, which is interesting. I loved Independence Day, so that kind of also says a lot. Like it will probably really help that it's by the producers of Independence Day. Um, and I think yeah, it that might mean it's pretty good. So I can't wait to see what it's like, and see kind of where it goes, watch its journey, I guess, and yeah, hopefully it's a good little series I can get into, because I'm actually running out of things to watch other than things that are like, I guess, older things that have been around a long time. Like, there's a lot of new series and films that I'm not really interested in watching, purely because I'm quite picky when it comes to what I enjoy. So yeah, I'm very intrigued at this one, and hopefully I get the chance to watch it, because it is a TV series rather than, I don't think it's going on any streaming services at the moment. So hopefully I get the chance to watch it. But yeah, what trailers have you seen recently, Zabby?
Well, Jess, I'm glad you asked, because if you did watch our last episode of the podcast, you will know that my second most anticipated show or film of 2023 is The Mandalorian Season 3. So the trailer did drop, and I must say, I am very excited to see the iconic duo of Din Djarin and the Mandalorian himself with our little green fuzzy friend Grogu. And yeah, I mean, I'm just super pumped, because I think that, the first two seasons of The Mandalorian have been really good. This trailer wasn't anything mind blowing per se, but looking back on the previous trailers for the show, for the previous seasons, they don't really give much away. And I think that, it's a good thing. It's going to keep people in the dark. But I did see one funny point, that a lot of people have mentioned, is that a lot of people going into the Mandalorian season 3 may say, "How come Grogu is back with the Mandalorian?" And if they haven't watched the Book of Boba Fett, because in the Book of Boba Fett we see Din Djarin get Grogu back, so that there's a little bit of confusion there, and I think that's the one thing I'm a little bit not worried about with Star Wars, but I don't want it to turn into MCU kind of thing, to be completely honest with you. And I think all the stuff with Grogu and Luke Skywalker really could have waited for season 3 of The Mandalorian. I can't lie. But anyway, that's for another video, about Book of Boba Fett. But yeah, I think the visual effects for this show looks really good compared to Kenobi and Book of Boba Fett, when those shows really were quite disappointing when it came to the CG. But I think for The Mandalorian, for both seasons, the CGI was really well done. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this season. I mean, I think they are keeping a lot of things in the dark, which isn't a bad thing. But I mean, yeah, they didn't show anything exciting. They didn't show us. I don't think they didn't show us Moff Gideon, because I know he's meant to be in the new series, in the new show. So, sorry, yeah, in this series and things. And there wasn't too much action. I think some of the clips we have seen before from other little teaser trailers and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's Star Wars at the end of the day, and I think The Mandalorian has been the overall best Star Wars thing to come from Disney. So yeah, I am really excited and super intrigued. This show is meant to be coming out on March 3rd, I believe, off the top of my head. I could be wrong, but I'm going to go with the Force on this one. And on that note, Jess, there's been a trailer that has released that I know has you pumped. And even though I'm not the biggest fan of the franchise or know much of it, I as well am intrigued. So would you like to take this one away?
Yes, definitely. I'm very much looking forward to this one, as mentioned in the last episode of the podcast. Scream 6, the trailer just dropped, and I am ecstatic. I'm so excited. It was a crazy trailer. Crazy. I think it was really intriguing, really engaging, very exciting. Oh, I can't wait. I just want it to come out now. Please. Come out now. Let me watch you. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. To be honest, I wrote a bunch of notes because I was like, this is so good. I need to talk about this. From the beginning, it was chaotic, absolutely chaotic, as it always is. Very good. really, really, really hooking, I guess. It hooked me straight away. I was like, come on, this is gonna be so good. Because I didn't really have like very high expectations for like the trailer specifically, purely because Scream 5 was a complete letdown. I absolutely hated it. It was awful. And so I thought, you know what? Now they're bringing another one out. I can't see it being like much better, you know. So yeah, I didn't think it was gonna be that good. And then I watched it and I was like, oh my god, I cannot wait to see this film. It was, yeah, very interesting. That we've got some very different little elements coming for Ghostface. We've got yeah, lots of changes to the character. I guess a new style of mask, which is very cool. And I also love that they included the other ghost faces. They had a scene in the trailer. If you haven't seen it already, there's a scene that has all the costumes from Ghostface lined up. Very, very cool. Really nice little homage to the previous films. Absolutely love that. Absolutely love that inclusion. I'm wondering actually, are they gonna have a bunch of ghost faces coming together like a little cult and come and kill a bunch of people? Like, there's a possibility. It's not in the trailer, but yeah, that would be interesting, definitely, and I think it would open a lot of doors for up and coming films for Scream, and more storylines possibly if they had multiple ghost faces working together. I'm very intrigued what the outcome's gonna be, like what the ending's gonna be like. I just can't wait. So exciting. Um I think there's going to be more screen time for Ghostface because, I mean, you don't see like as much as he, as much as it's a main character. Um, there's the screen time isn't quite as much as the victim when it comes to Scream. And so I'm thinking now, considering what the trailer was like, are they gonna give Ghostface more screen time? And are the other ones gonna come alive, I guess, in the scene? Like it, are they going to all band together, or are they going to still all come alive but be separate and all be chasing and doing different, like killing in different ways? And then getting annoyed at each other. Like, I don't know. We don't know where they're going to take it. It's very intriguing. I just cannot wait to see it. I just want it to be on my computer right now, sit and watch, or in the cinema to go and watch, because that would be incredible. And hopefully, I enjoy this one because I went to the cinema to watch Scream 5 and it was just not the best experience. It was not good. So hopefully, this one blows it out the water and is a lot better. I can't wait. Literally, I cannot wait. And oh, it's I think it's gonna be good. I've got a good feeling about this one. What do you think, Zavi?
Well, yeah, I mean, well, first of all, I love hearing, how excited you are for this film because I know how much you are a massive fan of the horror franchise and a fan of Scream itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my story with Scream is that Ghostface has very much like how the Navi and Avatar terrified you as a child, Jess. Ghostface terrified me as a child. I remember my dad getting the Empire magazine and Scream 4 was coming out and his mask was on the page and I was terrified. Ever since that day, I was just, I remember having nightmares about him for 4 years and trying to conquer the fear. And I was watching clips, trailers from the films. Oh gosh, it made it worse. It made it so much worse. I wouldn't recommend conquering your fears, and in that sense, at least, if you're terrified. But yeah, ever since that Scream 5 was announced, I was interested because I didn't know they were going to make another Scream film because of the unfortunate passing of Wes Craven. I went to go and watch the film in the cinema, and I just thought it was just like an average film, to be honest. I thought it was going to be a lot better because IGN reviewed rated it 9 out of 10. So I had some high hopes for that film, but I mean, it did some things differently from the original ones. I mean, I haven't watched any other of the Scream films, but I know pretty much what happens with all of them. I have a rough idea and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am super intrigued with this because it's a new location, as well as I feel like they can just go crazy with this film. Because of the setting of New York, and it's implied it will be around Halloween time. It's just going to be so dangerous, and I think that some of these set pieces with the subway scene, or the scene in the bodega when Ghostface steals the shop owner's shotgun and literally just
Mm.
goes ham and literally just cold bloodedly just shoots that guy in the head. It's crazy. And then
Yeah.
I think there's one bit in the trailer when some of the girls are on the ladder climbing over this like narrow street, which is also, like just very interesting. And then the shrine, Jess, that you mentioned with all the ghost face costumes, which we don't know if they are the real evidence or not, but that itself is just so intriguing because I can see
Mm.
that being used for the third act.
Yeah.
And the weathered Michael Myers, sorry, I said Michael Myers, wrong franchise, Xavier, wrong franchise. The weathered ghost face mask, I think is a really nice, unique twist. But we do get the white masking as well, and I love watching YouTube videos about this film because it's just so fun hearing about, just hearing theories and everything. I definitely think there is some trailer trickery in that trailer, I don't think it'll be a cult of Ghostface, but I've got a feeling that this film may be different in the way that it leaves on a cliffhanger ending, possibly with I would love to see one of the ghost faces not being revealed, or something. I think that'll be really, really interesting because I think in the trailer there's one shot that pretty much confirms there is at least two ghost faces.
Fair.
And I also love the line of when Ghostface is on the phone with Gail, which is the first time he's been ever on the phone with her through the entire franchise.
Mm.
He says he's something different. And I feel, that just is so menacing. And I would just
Yeah.
love to see Ghostface go ham. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, this film comes out March 10th, so really not far away. And I'm just, as like you, Jess, really intrigued. I mean, I think it can be some really cool set pieces, and it could be a really fun, bloody time.
Yes. Oh, I can't wait. It's gonna be so good. It's gonna be, well, hopefully so good. Fingers crossed they pull it off because yeah, the whole trailer indicated to so many different things it could be, and I can't wait for my questions to be answered. But I'm hoping some of them aren't answered purely because Scream usually does leave a few cliffhangers. So fingers crossed they're good ones.
Indeed. And
But
also a good motive. A good motive is key for is key for the Scream franchise as well, from the killers.
yeah, definitely.
Or killers. I don't know. There you go. But now on to the main topic of today's video, which is the 2023 Academy Award nominations have been released. And as we mentioned at the beginning, there's quite a lot to digest with all these categories.
Mm,
I think there's some that were expected. There were some that was not expected, and there were some that I thought it's just straight out criminal, and bonkers, to be completely honest with you. Well, I'm going to start off with some of the obvious ones. The actor in the leading role, the two heavy hitters or front runners for this is Austin Butler and Brendan Fraser. Really happy that Brendan Fraser is getting the love he deserves. I do think Austin Butler will win for his role as Elvis, as the Academy do normally favor actors who play real life stars and celebrities. That's just how the Academy goes. But I haven't seen Elvis, but I think Austin Butler looked like he did an amazing job. in that film, as well as actresses. I know that Michelle Yeoh, as I just mentioned, Everything Everywhere All at Once, I think as well will win for leading role with the leading actress. And actually, with Everything Everywhere All at Once, it has got the most nominations at the Oscars this year, which was 11 in total, which is quite a lot. And then actress in best supporting role, Angela Bassett got nominated from her performance in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I haven't watched that film yet, but it is coming to Disney Plus very soon, so I am intrigued. As Black Panther: Wakanda Forever has got nominated for 4 Oscars, which there's definitely one that I think is questionable, to say the least. And then, yeah, I mean, I would like to talk about the cinematography category because I think this is just this. I feel like this is just so stupid. I am so sorry that this is just bad. I mean, I haven't seen any of these films that have been put on the cinematography list. I see Roger Deakins is on there for Empire of Light, and then some other ones, James Friend for All Quiet on the Western Front, and then Mandy Walker for Elvis. But how did the Batman not fall into this category? And I'm saying not just the Batman. How did the Batman, Top Gun Maverick, and the Banshees of Inisherin not make it on to the best cinematography list for this year? It's nuts. I mean, Greg Fraser won the Oscar last year for best cinematographer with Dune, and granted, I didn't know if he was going to win the cinematography this year because he did win last year, but I thought he at least would have got a solid nomination for it. But he hasn't. Top Gun Maverick as well was very, very well shot with just amazing shots in the film with some lovely silhouette shots of Tom Cruise on the freighter, you know, as well as just the practical filming with the actual jets and how they filmed everything. Is incredible and is mind blowing to me that didn't get nominated. And then the Banshees, which also was just showed how gorgeous the islands of Ireland is. And I thought that those 3 would at least got a nomination. I mean, I haven't seen Elvis. I know I can't really critique on that film overall, but I've seen shots of Elvis and I get a rough, idea on how it's shot. And I think it goes nowhere near those 3 films I just mentioned. It's like I can't describe it. It's so bizarre, and all 3 films are so visually stunning on so many levels. And man, that was definitely a shock to me, and I am not happy. Not happy. I thought that at least the Batman would have definitely got one. I thought Top Gun Maverick and the Banshees did. You know, they all 3 of them. By going into the Academy Awards, I thought that the Batman would have at least got an Oscar nomination for cinematography, but the fact it didn't. What has the world come to? Seriously.
Honestly.
But Jess, I know that you have watched Elvis, and I know that you're a massive fan of Top Gun Maverick, and I know likely seeing that Top Gun Maverick or the Banshees, even though I know you weren't the biggest fan of that film, didn't get put into this category and everything. What would you say about all of this?
I think it's mad. I think the Academy has gone crazy and they've clearly not watched the movies because 8 years they spent on Top Gun. What? They spent 8 years on the bloody film to then not even be nominated for the cinematography. Like, what? What the hell's going on? And the Banshees, I didn't dislike the film. just wasn't my type of film and not something I would usually watch. But I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, and the cinematography was stunning. What the hell's gone on? Like, if anyone from the Academy is listening, not that they will be, but if they were to listen at any point in the future, you made so many mistakes in 2023. God, what the hell happened? What have you
Yeah,
done?
it's
Elvis was just
crazy,
yeah,
crazy.
Elvis was just nominated for too much. It was stereotypical as a film about music, in my opinion, and just yeah, I don't know. Just I'm not a fan of Elvis, to be honest. That's probably one of the reasons I didn't enjoy it. But I found it stereotypical. It wasn't nearly as sim in a bleh. It wasn't nearly as stunning when it came to cinematography as something like Top Gun Maverick or The Banshees or even Batman that I haven't seen, but I know damn well the cinematography just blew all the other films out of the water because I've seen pictures and clips and I was blown away. I was like, whoa, how can a film, like, how is that physically possible to create such incredible cinematography and visuals? And, oh, just, my mind is blown. My mind is completely blown as to how, like, these films just did not make the cut when it came to the nominations. Like, what?
Yeah,
What?
it's really it's crazy. Again, as I said, I haven't seen Elvis, but I feel like at least um, I just feel like the film it looked very not over contrast or very over exaggerated, but
Mm,
I felt like it at least it kind of gave off that impression when I think that the Banshees was just naturally visually beautiful. Same with Top Gun Maverick, and then the construction of the Batman universe with Gotham City and the visual effects that you used. You know, I just I am really gobsmacked to be completely honest with you, as well as the Batman also isn't even on the original score category, which I think is just it's
criminal.
crazy. Yeah, I mean, I am seriously so shocked. I thought that like again, I thought everyone in the Batman from the production team and from the acting team that they all deserved nominations. But realistically, I knew that Robert Pattinson wouldn't be nominated. I know Zoe Kravitz would have not been nominated. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it would have been, a cool surprise to see Colin Farrell nominated, but I know that he's, been nominated for the Banshees. But I at least would have thought the minimal for this film is that it definitely should have secured um, best original score and cinematography, but neither have made it onto the category. And the original score, composed by Michael Giacchino, for me was just incredible. It had all the elements of a perfect Batman score for me. It has the it has the low notes, it has the high notes, it has those those like certain notes of music that can really build up suspense. It has so many different varieties of music in the film. With everything, with all the scores of all the different characters, and the Batman score was also sympathetic and heartfelt, as well as bombastic and triumphant. And again, I am just so shocked and surprised that the Batman overall it did get nominated for three Oscar nominations. One being best visual effects, one for the prosthetics. I don't know. I think it was the makeup and stuff. I don't know um, the prosthetic makeup. I would like to say. But yeah, I mean, and then there's one more that I can't remember off the top of my head. But just seeing, as you mentioned about Elvis, what is it? Elvis got nominated for 7 and the Batman's only got nominated for 3. Like, I just think that is nuts, to be completely honest with you. And just, I just don't know. I really just don't know what's happened this year. And it has really disappointed me, to be honest with you. Everything. But oh yes, sorry. The Batman was visual effects, makeup and hairstyling, and then I think it's sound as well. Yes, sound, which I'm happy that the Batman did get nominated for sound, as the sound design in that film as well is just so incredible. I loved the sound of the Batmobile. When you see the Batmobile for the first time in this film, Jess, when you watch it, you will love it. You will. Oh, so yeah, I'm happy it's got nominated at least for 3 categories, but oh, yeah, it is disappointing. But Jess, would you like to talk about the films that have been nominated for best picture?
Yeah. Interesting. Interesting, I have to say. Um, I think Top Gun Maverick is a given that definitely deserves it. Banshees, yeah, I think it deserves a shot. Um, Avatar, still, why? What? No. Still dislike it massively, but I do get why it's there, and it's just an incredible movie style. And it's always been executed amazingly. So I mean, I get it, I get it. I just didn't enjoy the story personally. Um the Fablemans I haven't seen, but I've heard good
Mm,
things, so I kind of get why it's there. Uh,
yeah, I
uh,
think, well, for us in the UK, for all of those American listeners, this film hasn't even come out yet for us in the UK. I think it's meant to come out this Friday, the 27th.
hmm,
And it's directed by Steven Spielberg and things. And I've heard lots of good things with this film, so I am interested to watch it, I must say. But yeah, it is annoying that films, especially ones getting nominated for Oscars, can just take so much longer to come to UK cinemas than
yeah.
US cinemas, which is bizarre. It's bizarre.
Yeah, it's annoying, and also the other way round. Like, it's annoying for then other countries, if there's a film made in the UK that is released in the UK, it takes again ages to be released everywhere else, and I think that's a huge issue in the industry, and just in and like all media based industries. Like, it's yeah, a huge issue. I think a lot of people don't like. And I feel like they should, if they're going to release something in one country at a specific time, they should release it at the same time everywhere else, i.e., like, if it's 5 p.m., for example, in the UK, then it should be whatever time it is at 5 p.m. in the UK everywhere else that it gets released. Like, if it's a UK film, or if it's an American film, if it's 5 p.m. in America or in one of the states, it's 5 p.m. and it gets released, it should be whatever time everywhere else then. Because then everyone gets to see it at the same time and people can talk about it more and come together more, because then everyone knows you've seen it, and then people won't get spoilers unless something is leaked. Like, in the perfect world it would work, but unfortunately that is not the case, and I guess we get the advantage sometimes, but we get a huge disadvantage in times like these. And
Yep.
yeah, going back to Best Picture, Everything Everywhere All at Once sounds incredible. Can't wait to watch it. And yeah, it's so imaginative. So yeah, I think got quite a huge chance. And then the rest of them I haven't seen. So yeah, I
Mm,
think the ones that are most likely to be in for a chance of winning Best Picture are Top Gun Maverick, The Banshees, or Everything Everywhere All at Once, in my personal opinion. I don't think Elvis is good enough compared to the other films. Avatar does have a chance, but I feel like I don't know. I feel like it's not
mm,
loved as much as the others. But yeah,
yeah.
Elvis definitely. I don't know. Just I think it was just so generic. So
Mm,
in my opinion, it doesn't deserve it. If I'm totally honest,
yeah.
harsh as that is, I don't think it deserves it. I think there are other films in that list that deserve it.
More. Yeah. I kind of agree. Like, I think that Austin Butler deserves to be nominated for Best Actor as
Sure.
Elvis, as he embodied the character for 3 years of his life, and now ever since after the film, he actually sounds like Elvis because of him having to change his voice, which is just crazy. I mean, fair dedication to the guy. But
Mm,
yeah, looking at this list, I mean, I'm very happy that Top Gun Maverick has got at least a nomination. I think it very much deserved it. I
mm,
think the two runners up, or I mean, sorry, the two heavy hitters of this, it will either be The Fablemans or Everything Everywhere All at Once. Now, I haven't watched The Fablemans, but I've heard that it will be between those two films. I think Top Gun Maverick was an incredible film, and again, I'm glad it did get, nominated. I just don't see the Academy choosing that film, unfortunately, as they are very specific. But I think still just a massive props to the Top Gun Maverick team for at least getting a nomination, as well as the Banshees, which has got so many different nominations with Colin Farrell for Best Actor. Um, then you got, what is it, Kerry Condon for Best Supporting Actress, Barry Keoghan for Best Supporting Actor, as well as Brendan Gleeson for Best Supporting Actor as well. So
mm,
I think the Banshees have done very well for their nominations this year and everything. But yeah, I think I mean I'll be quite happy if it was Everything Everywhere All at Once, because of just how bonkers that film really is. And I think that for an art house company like A24 to have won an Oscar will be relatively revolutionary, because
mm,
A24 films really can be quite elusive in the UK, and the only time they are really shown a lot in the mainstream cinemas here is when it's a horror film. But smaller films, for example, The Whale, came out a couple of months ago in the USA, and it's only coming out February 3rd for us. So yeah, but I think yeah, I mean this there are many pros and cons, I would say, with this Academy Awards and everything. Like, I think a lot of people really have gone off the Oscars. I think that over time that the viewership of the Oscars has decreased rapidly, I think, from what statistics showed. But I mean, the only thing is, I'm hoping is that this Oscars is better than the last one, as we all remember what happened with that incident. Yeah, the most upsetting thing is that that was the only thing talked about the entire event. There was no mention of the people who won their awards, which is
mm,
which is very sad. It was overshadowed by that unfortunate incident. So I really hope that this year, again, it will have to take a lot for it to go as low as that. But I really hope that this year has some unique, different choices. But I think going into it, I can see which who will win what and what's likely. I think Avatar will win Best Visual Effects. And I
mm.
was surprised that Black Panther Wakanda Forever got nominated for Best Visual Effects. I mean, I haven't seen that film, but even in the trailer, like, I know that Marvel's budgeting and how quickly they like to release projects like Black Panther and TV shows is that a lot of the CGI is, looks underdeveloped, which is a shame. And I think Marvel's become a fast food restaurant. So I was quite surprised to see Black Panther did get nominated for that. I mean, I haven't seen the film, but I'm still relatively surprised a Marvel film, at least that one specifically, because I have seen shots from the trailer when it looked a bit all like, oh, that doesn't look great. And I've had some friends who's watched it told me that some of the CGI isn't great. So there is definitely some really questionable choices in this awards, and there is definitely some really, some big misses. But that's always going to happen with everyone's going to think that because of everyone's different opinion. So, I may think this Oscars is terrible, but next year will be great. And then, for someone else, that can be vice versa. I mean, that's just the enjoyment of the film industry. But yeah, we will, I'm sure that when everything like the Academy has happened, we will talk about it. I know that the BAFTAs is next on the list, and then it will be the actual Academy Awards. But yeah, I don't believe there is anything else to talk about.
No, yeah, it is eventful, and I cannot wait to see who wins what awards. And I'm hoping all the deserving films, as mentioned, will win the awards well, they very much have earned. But yeah, I think that's all for this episode 10 of the Production Meeting podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and smash that like button. And
make sure that you hit that notification bell so you get notified every time we make a new video. And guys, we would love to hear your opinions on what we talked about in this episode. So please feel free to put it down in the comment section down below.
But yeah, that's all for episode 10. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.